This is Dave, and I'm here with Ethan, and together we are Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 204-inch.
On this episode, we continue our interview with Dan Butts, the production designer behind many of Weird Al's projects, including Weird the Al Yankovic Story.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
It's a podcast about Weird Al.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Seriously, the whole podcast is about Weird Al.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
You don't have to listen, but we're glad you are.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Hello again, Ethan.
Oh, hey, Dave! I hope you're excited for this episode.
I sure am. I'm so excited for this episode. Not only is it the continuation of our interview with Dan Butts, but also because episode 204-inch means we finally reached the 17-foot mark on our journey to release 166 and 2/3 feet worth of episodes.
Wow. I didn't think this day would ever come. Well, thank you for everyone for sticking with us for 17 feet, but also thank you for the nice notes and comments that came in about part one of our interview with Dan Butts.
Well, we've got a lot of interview left to go, so let's check out what's happening in Weird Al related news.
This Sunday, August 27th, marks the 5-year anniversary of Weird Al getting his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
I remember that day so well, standing in front of 6914 Hollywood Boulevard, watching Weird Al get the 2,643rd star. What a pretty stinking majestic day that was.
So pretty stinking majestic. It just brings me so much joy every time I'm in the area and I can visit that wonderful star and clean it and get on my hands and knees with a toothbrush. Oh, it's just wonderful.
And I love how it brings Weird Al fans from all over the globe together whenever they visit the Walk of Fame.
I can't believe that it's been 5 entire years, and that happened before we had the podcast, so much has changed, yet so much is the same. We all still love Weird Al so much.
From all of us here at Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, congratulations to Weird Al and his Hollywood star on their 5th anniversary.
And from all of us here at Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, a big thank you to Dave and Vicky for orchestrating the whole thing and all the fans and supporters that helped get Al that star.
Hey, Ethan, would you mind covering the rest of what's happening in Weird Al related news? There's this first generation Bob Denver themed Beanie Baby ending on eBay soon, and I really need this one in order to complete my Gilligan's Island plush collection.
Say no more, Dave. I got it covered. All right, with Dave gone, now we can talk about all the stuff I've been dying to share all these years that he always vetoes. All right, let's see. Oh gosh, yeah. Okay, he was right to veto that one. What was I thinking? I mean, what was intern Frank thinking? Sheesh. All right, let's get to more Weird Al related news. Our longtime friend and supporter Blair Freeman let us know that Weird Al made an appearance on NPR this past weekend. Well, sort of. On This American Life, episode 808, The Rest of the Story, they played a chunk of Weird the Al Yankovic Story's Now You Know song at the end of the episode, including that first fake-out ending. How apropos! Now, longtime friend and supporter Mike Minnick let us know about something quite awesome on X, the social media formerly known as Twitter, posted by @FunnyOrDie. Over the span of 29 posts, they told the story of the making of Weird the Al Yankovic Story. It's quite a fun read, and this episode's guest, Dan Butts, even gets a shout out in 2 of the posts. That's like nearly 7% of them. Now, somehow, they did forget to mention the most important cameos of all, Dave and me, but I guess we can just blame that on the social network's limit of 280 characters, which over 29 posts is only 8,120 characters. Okay, yeah, they definitely could have mentioned us. You will definitely enjoy reading this story, and if for some reason that social network has completely collapsed and is no longer accessible by some highly likely chance, we've got some screenshots, so just let us know. Now, coming up this weekend, there will be an event called Iconathon Legends of the Silver Screen in Belleville, Illinois at the Skyview Drive-In Theater. Among such films as The Blob, King Kong, and Creatures from the Black Lagoon, they will also be screening Airplane, Blazing Saddles, and yes, UHF. Our friend and supporter Jason McDonald let us know that not only will they be selling posters at the event that feature the UHF logo, they'll also be selling Twinkie Wiener sandwiches at the concession stand. Yum! Now that will be this Friday and Saturday, August 25th and 26th. For information and tickets, head over to skyview-drive-in.com. Wow, Illinois must be feeling pretty weird this month because last weekend, the Joliet Slammers baseball team in Joliet, Illinois, had Weird Al Night. But Dave and I weren't there, so I guess you'll never know what happened. Well, that sound means we've got a call on the 347 Spatula Hotline. The 347 Spatula Hotline is the official hotline of Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast. Well, all right, intern Frank, let's hear that message.
Hey Dave, hey Ethan, it's Blair Freeman over in Illinois, and I just want to call to let you guys know that this past Sunday, August 20th, I attended Weird Al Night at the Joliet Slammers baseball game in Joliet, Illinois. Luckily, it's about 20 minutes from my house, so figured I couldn't miss it. The Slammers are part of an independent professional baseball league called the Frontier League. That's mostly in the Midwest and Northeast U.S. and some Canadian teams too. But anyway, the bulk of the night featured mostly snippets of Al songs being played in between the innings. Not a whole lot else. They played stuff like Your Horoscope for Today, Amish Paradise, Spoil, Tacky, Canadian Idiot, eBay, Party in the CIA. They did have a trivia question, not a contest really. They just have a question that they then answer later on in the evening. Sponsored by Snapple, but I'm sure you guys are dying to know the trivia question. Here it goes. I'm sure it'll stump you. What was Weird Al's first hit? Eat It, My Bologna, or Living with a Hernia? I know. That's a doozy, isn't it? I'm sure UHF is stumped, but if you want to know the answer, you can message me later because I stuck around for the answer. Anyway, after the game, they went ahead and played about 7 songs of Al's in their entirety: Captain Underpants, Polka Face, Smells Like Nirvana, Lasagna. So pretty cool to hear those songs cranked throughout the stadium, but that's about it. No Twinkie Wiener sandwiches, no blueberry daiquiris or Yankoritas at the concession stand, no polka bands, no Best Hawaiian Shirt contest or anything. But still pretty cool theme night for a pro sports team, and the Slammers ended up beating the Florence Yalls 2-0. So yeah, it was a fun night at Joliet Slammer Stadium in Joliet, and that's about it. All right, talk to you guys later.
Wow, well, I stand corrected. As far as what happened at the baseball game, now you know. Blair, thank you so much for the call and checking out the game and giving us this great report. Another spatula message? Oh, sheesh. Dave's going to be so bummed that he missed these calls. Maybe I just won't tell him. All right, let's hear this one, Frank.
Hey, Dave and Ethan, this is Ron. I'm calling to let you know that I just posted a piece of my art on your Facebook page, and I hope you like it, and I hope your listeners like it as well. Thank you, and you all have a great day.
Ron, thank you so much for this awesome artwork. There's a lot of fun little references to Weird Al and our podcast all mixed in, so definitely head over to group.2000inch.com to check it out in all its glory. And get this, Ron also made another whole half of the drawing featuring our friends from the Beard Al podcast. What a neat and long overdue crossover. Head over to the Beard Al Facebook page to check out their half of Ron's drawing. Super cool.
All right, I'm back. Oh, and just in time for this episode is brought to you in part by Vegan Burrito Restaurant, Burrito, home of the 2-pound double wrapped in a quesadilla, Burrito, and Wizard Burger in Albany, New York. Come on down to Burrito and Burrito, your Burrito, and Wizard Burger for mouth-watering, loaded, dare I say beefy, vegan burgers. From Albany to Uranus, Burrito and Wizard Burger feed the hungry with out-of-this-world, plant-based, real food, always vegan style. Visit burritosquare.com and wizardburger.com and order ahead.
Well, glad you were able to come back, Dave. Hope that eBay auction went well.
Maybe I'll have better luck next time. On behalf of Dave and Ethan's 2000s Weird Al podcast, we'd like to share the following message in advance of our interview with Weird Al Yankovic Story production designer Dan Butts amid the current Hollywood strikes.
We have not been contacted by Roku or by anyone requesting promotion of the film Weird Al Yankovic Story of any kind. We want to state that while we are discussing the film Weird Al Yankovic Story, we are in no way promoting the film nor showing support for film studios that do not support the writers and actors currently on strike.
The intention of this podcast is to create an entertaining archive of information about Weird Al and his career, life, and supporters for both entertainment and informational purposes. Dave and Ethan's 2000s Weird Al podcast supports the WGA and SAG and all creatives in the film industry and beyond.
On our last episode, we kicked off our interview with Dan Butts, production designer behind numerous Weird Al projects, including Weird Al Yankovic Story. So let's pick up the interview where we left off last episode.
I've never really come across something where people haven't been Al fans.
Right. How can someone be in a creative industry and not at least like Al, you know?
Seriously, yeah. It's like people that would like him, I wouldn't want to work with.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a great litmus test of are we going to get along?
So Dan, I believe the next thing that you worked on with Weird Al was this YouTube series on Nerdist called Face to Face, where Weird Al has a whole bunch of fake interviews with a whole bunch of celebrities.
Yeah, that's true.
That aired from April to August of 2012.
Yeah, that is true. That was super fun. It's funny because it's really I've seen some of those recently, and they still make me laugh.
Yes.
It's such a great idea.
Oh, they're hilarious.
It's so genius, to take tape and then and it was challenging on our part, the art department, just because you have to match the reverse of whatever it is. You have to imagine what would that look like?
Right.
But it was funny because I'd had a ton of experience with that, because I did that for the I used to do the Oscar openings with Billy Crystal, where we would cut Billy Crystal into different movies.
Oh, cool. Nice.
And so it was kind of like my jam at that point. I'm like, oh, I'm the match it guy. And so those are really fun, but some of them were so weird. You're like, okay, that's a warehouse, but what would that side of the warehouse look like? And we have 8 feet behind Al, so how's that going to work?
Right.
But yeah, we did make it work. A little weird piece of trivia for you from that show is the desk that we built for the host segments of that, where he talks to the audience.
Yeah.
That desk that we built, we later, I think to save money, we gave it to a prop house that we owed money to or something like that. And then we rented that same desk is the same desk for foil.
I thought it looked familiar.
Wow.
Because I watched those back to back recently, and I was like, that looks very similar. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Bam.
That's funny. I was thinking the same thing as I was watching a couple episodes of Face to Face and Foil. I was like, I wonder if that's the same desk. Couldn't be.
I think we even got a deal, because I was like, hey, we gave you this desk before, but we just kind of want to use it again.
Wow.
That's incredible.
In rewatching Face to Face, I wasn't sure if some of those backgrounds were green screen. Were all of them literal backgrounds?
I'd have to look, but I don't know. I know we built a lot of them. There might be some that are green screen, but I remember building a lot of them. But that we could have done green screen, that wouldn't surprise me.
Now there weren't really a whole lot of props in that show, but there were a handful of things. Did you do anything with those, like the karaoke machine or getting the Dunkin' Donuts box, or anything like that?
Oh yeah, we would have gotten all of that.
Yeah, cool.
I remember it was funny because we had the background was kind of like a little cityscape of LA back there. We had some iconic buildings and things we had kind of carved.
Right.
And I remember I held on to that background thing forever. I was like, this has got to be used for something else. And then it just ended up deteriorating over years.
Aw.
Shame.
I don't think even Al would have wanted it.
Yeah. But Dave and I would have wanted it.
Yeah, exactly.
The series is still up on YouTube, but Al has, from time to time, used clips from this face-to-face in his live shows when he was doing costume changes. You know, he would put up some of these little funny videos for in between for the audience. So they do get a lot of views,
Yes.
both on YouTube and in at concerts as well.
They should. They're so smart. They're so good.
Yeah.
So funny.
Well, we talked about the counter for foil. What can you tell us about the foil music video?
It was fun. It was tight. I think it was like, I kind of don't even think Jay, I know Jay Levy was obviously involved, but like, I think it was produced by, like, I want to say College Humor, which was fairly new at that time. And I remember we had like no money. Obviously why I got the little face-to-face desk. But I know rewatching it pains me to watch it, because I was like, ow, oh God, that looks bad. Like when they cut away to him in the restaurant, it kills me because it's so underdressed and just not the greatest job on my part. But I do still love the logo that they did. It's like, keep it cooking.
Yeah, now we're cooking.
Now
we're cooking.
Now we're cooking. Yeah.
Yeah. Our my graphic artist Lori West, who is a genius, she created that. She's also a massive Al fan and actually did a bunch of the graphics on Weird, including the cherub with Daniel Radcliffe's face on it.
Oh, nice.
And it's so funny because she's so fancy. She did like Mank, which won like the Academy Award for best production design. But she'll still work on my stuff because we get to work with fun people like Al.
That's so cool.
Oh.
So yeah, I think that was my favorite part of the foil thing, was her graphic thing. And I it was just a fun video to do also because Patton was there, and who else was there?
Tom Lennon.
Tom Lemon. Yeah, that's right. Tom Lennon.
Ben Grant.
Yeah. So yeah, it was great. And then later, Al had asked me to do like a tour version of the desk, like a much smaller, like portable version of the counter that we had done. So that was fun because we'd never actually done a tour thing before. But it was crazy because we're right in the middle of doing this Pee-wee Herman movie called Pee-wee's Big Holiday.
Oh,
and so we were crazy busy because that job was nutballs. But my carpenters were also like Al fans and actually had worked on a lot of the things before. Like it was the same carpenters that I think had built the original desk for Face to Face.
Okay.
So we would work after hours. Like we would get finished working on Pee-wee, 6, 7 at night. And then we'd work for another like 6 hours, putting together the counter for the tour.
Oh, wow.
But it was fun. It was fun to like see it in footage, being like, oh, hey, there's a little counter.
Did you get to see any of the shows with the counter you built on stage?
I didn't. I've seen many of his shows, but I think I don't think I've seen one where he did foil.
Have you built any other tour props for Weird Al, or is it just the
No,
table?
no. I think it was just that. He doesn't. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of his. You've seen a lot more of his concerts, but they didn't seem super prop set heavy, right?
Yeah, definitely more in the costume department.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know when we did Weird, I was like, what should I do for Amish Paradise? And I was like, I wonder what he did in concert. And I was like, I didn't really see any big kind of major set pieces. So I came up with my own thing for our film.
Yep.
You briefly mentioned the working with Pee-wee Herman, and I think we need to chat about that briefly. What can you tell us about working with him and working on that film?
Oh, it was such a joy. It was like, you know, I was a huge Pee-wee fan, as most people were, especially most people that are art department inspired.
Right.
Yeah. Oh
Because it
yeah.
was just such a visual world. So that was like that was a dream. It was super fun. He was great. He was very involved. You know, would come in and give notes on like it should be this and not that. But they kind of let us do what we wanted, which is kind of insane. Like at one point early on, we were talking about the opening of the movie, and I said, you know what we should do? We should do like a Life Aquatic thing, like a Wes Anderson thing, where we like cut his house in half, and we do a cutaway of the house, and then like we show him going through his day, and they were like, okay. I was like, did you just say okay? Like, it's a massive, from an art department standpoint, it's a massive build,
Right?
and, like, a huge stage, and I'm like, surely this is gonna go away. And we started getting closer and closer, and they let us do it.
Wow.
So it was super fun. It's
cool.
amazing, like the power that Paul had. Like, you know, they just, you know, no one was going to say no to him. It was his project, and you know, Judd Apatow was like super supportive, and Netflix was as well. So it was great. We got to kind of do it the way we wanted to do it, and yeah, it was so fun, so creative.
You didn't need to get any door peepholes for that one, I'm guessing. You
No,
probably
no.
had some money behind it.
It was so weird because, you know, you get so used to working like in a scrappy way, you know, you're like, well, we could do it like this, and they're like, why would you do that? I was like, oh, so we could do it the real way. Go, all right, okay, we'll do it that way then. But yeah, it was wild to be like, because I remember when I did that, people were like, so you work with Weird Al and Pee-wee. Like,
I know.
because it was kind of crazy, like,
Yeah.
two icons from the same time.
Yeah, two
period.
comedy icons.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's incredible.
I mean, if we look at your career like, you know, the Thanos Infinity Gauntlet, you pretty much have all the stones at this point.
That's funny. Yeah, I've been yeah, it's been nice. I've been very lucky to work on some really cool, funny things. It's so much fun to work on comedy because it's just every day is hilarious. So if it's good comedy.
Now, obviously, both Al and Paul, or Pee-wee, are two incredible comedy minds. How would you compare the way that they worked, having worked with both of them?
Well, I don't know. It's interesting. I think, well, Al has, you know, also a director's mind, so he knows how to direct and directs very well. Whereas Paul was very, very much about protecting the character of Pee-wee. You know, he's cultivated this character for years and years. So he was very, he would kind of, you know, just allow the director to kind of do his thing. I mean, it's an old story, but, you know, he's the one that championed Tim Burton to do his first film. And it's the reason why Tim Burton got it, was because Pee-wee, you know, allowed him to do it. So it's just kind of different. I think like Paul wouldn't get so much into the details of the filmmaking of it all. Whereas Al knows that world probably better, and just is kind of more into that. Not that he ever he would never intrude on Eric when he was directing. Like, none of that ever happened. But I don't know. They're just kind of different in that sense. Like Paul was just really about what would Pee-wee do in this scenario? What would Pee-wee's what would this room look like? How would he react to this? You know, that kind of thing. So it was more about protecting the character, whereas you know, Al kind of is involved in all of it for thing. But they're both both crazy professionals, like amazing collaborators, like just the greatest people you could work with. I've been very, very lucky in that way. Yeah.
That's so cool. Now, I guess while we're taking a little bit of a detour, I want to squeeze in a couple non-Weird Al things. Although I can make them Weird Al related. But first up, I want to ask you, you worked on one of my all-time favorite shows, Mr. Show, with Bob and David. What did you do on Mr. Show?
So I came in on season 3. And back then it was called, the titles were different. I think they called me like location art director. Because that was a strange show in that, as you know, like it had a stage portion and then it had like interstitials and other things that happened, like filmed segments, right?
Right.
So I would do all the filmed segments. So when there were fake commercials and things, I would do those. I did this super fun set called Drugachusetts.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That was just a blast. It was basically like, the Sid and Marty Krofft show that got kicked back because it actually had too many drug references in it. Like HR Puff and stuff wasn't enough. So yeah, that was a super hard show to do because it was I think my art department I think there were 3 of us. I think it was me and this guy Doug and Bruce, and we would do it all. Like they would pick up the props and we'd come and dress them. And I remember I would work literally almost every night, all night, fabricating some sort of prop that like Bob and David had probably come up with that day. It'd be like, let's have an award, but it's shaped like a derby hat and it should be gold and it should be on space. And you're like, it's 7:00 at night. It's going to shoot at 8 a.m.
Oh man.
But it was so fun because the show was they were so smart and so funny, and just to like be in the room and like, they're fighting about like, what's more funny, an eggplant or a banana? And they would get like so into it. Like, David be like, well, of course it's a eggplant, you idiot. He's like, no, it's a banana. And and literally they would squabble, and you're like, this is the best room to be in right now. So it was great to be a part of something so amazing. It's just the crazy things you got to make, and then watching it later, you're like, wow, that's cool. I actually did something on that. And it's funny later because this happens a lot in my industry where, like, if you look back at it from an art department standpoint, like the sets aren't great. Like, like we had no money and like no time, but people have such a fond memory of the show, that you get like included in that, which is great. They're like, oh, you worked on Mr. Show. Awesome. You should do our show. And I'm like, did you look at the sets? Because I'm not proud of them. But it's, it's the thing. It's like after a while, you're like, oh, okay, well, you work on quality stuff. So obviously someone trusts you to do that. So we'll try to. But yeah, that was hard. It was a blast, but it was hard.
I think it was season 4. There is a parody of Weird Al where Bob Odenkirk is dressed as Daffy Mal Yankle. Were you involved in that at all?
No, I don't. That was not my season, I don't think.
Okay.
I would have remembered that.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, yeah. I was going to say they're fans of Al as well.
Oh, yeah.
I actually made a huge pitch to have David Cross be Demento in the movie.
Oh, I bet he would have done great.
Oh, I think it would have been amazing. And I know David was a fan of Al and a fan of Dr. Demento, but I think it was it was already kind of figured out by that point, unfortunately. But
oh, that would have been cool though.
Yeah, it would have been great. Not that our Dr. Demento was not great. He was great.
No, Rainn Wilson is incredible, but it is interesting to think about how the movie could have been different with if Patton did it or if Dave did it. I mean, it would have been awesome.
Yeah.
I made Mr. Show Weird Al related. Talking about Daffy Mal Yankle. Before we get into Weird, I got to ask you about my other favorite show, Flight of the Conchords. You worked on that, and of course there is a little Weird Al mini cameo in there, so I'm wondering if you had anything to do with that.
I did. I didn't even think anyone noticed that. It's not much of a stretch to think that the Conchords were Al fans, since it's kind of their jam. And at one point during season 1, we were talking about things that would be in their apartment and stuff, and I think someone had pitched like, oh, it'd be funny if they had some sort of parody magazine or something that was there. And I think Brett was like, oh, it'd be great if it was like Weird Al on the cover. And we're like, and then someone's like, well, there's, and they're like, oh, it's too bad we can't do that. Like, we couldn't afford that. And I was like, actually, I think we can do that. And they're like, how are we going to do that? We need permission and it's money and there's no way it's going to happen. And I was like, well, I could ask them. And they were like, you literally saw their heads exploding at the same time. Like, Weird Al? And I was like, yeah, I do. Like, I mean, does he like go to your birthday parties and stuff? And I'm like, yeah, he actually goes to your birthday parties. I mean, unless Drew Carey is having a birthday, because we share the same birthday. Which has happened a few times. But so anyway, so it was awesome. So I called Al, and he, of course, like, he already knew them. And he's like, oh, those guys are great. Yeah, of course. Whatever I need to do. And so we were able to build the Weird Al magazine, which I think was also built by Lori West.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's my through line. She's my secret weapon.
It sounds like we need to have Lori on the show too.
Oh God, it'd be amazing. You should, absolutely should.
Sounds incredible.
So yeah, we did it, and then it was great. Everybody was so happy. And then it was hilarious because after we did season 2, we came back, and then the Conchords were doing a concert in LA, somewhere downtown, one of the older theaters, maybe the Broadway or something. But they had offered me tickets to the show, and so I was like, oh, I'm going to take Al. And so I called Al. I was like, you want to come see a Conchord show? And he's like, yeah, that'd be super fun. He's like, I'd love to meet those guys. I was like, yeah, well, it's fine. We're there, had we're meeting for drinks after the show or whatever. So it's like, great. So we go, and the way this theater's set up, it's like, it had these like overhanging balconies, kind of like, when Lincoln was shot. I can't imagine. I can't think of what they're called now.
I can totally picture it. Yeah.
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 So Al and I are like in the front of one of those, so we can be seen by kind of everybody, which is not great when you're Weird Al at a Flight of the Conchords concert, since it's basically the same. It's the same audience,
yeah,
or very similar. And so the opening act was Aziz Ansari, and he comes out, and randomly he has a Weird Al joke.
Oh wow!
Not at his expense, obviously, because who would do that but an evil person? Yeah. But it was it was a joke that involved Weird Al, and the crowd like goes nuts, and Aziz like stops it and goes, "Okay, wait, that joke was not that funny." He's like, "What's the deal? Is Al like here or something?" And the whole lower audience points up to our booth.
Oh, so everyone can see you.
Yeah, and we're like, oh shit. And so for the rest of the show, it was just a sea of people crawling next to our seats trying to like say hi to Al while he's watching the show.
Oh man.
Oh.
It was funny because I felt like I acted like his his bodyguard. I was like, don't worry, I'll get this. And I would like try to shoo people away as they crawled up. But it was awesome because then afterward he got to meet the guys we met at some restaurant nearby afterward, and it was cute seeing like the Conchords, who were kind of a big deal at that point, just turn into like mushy fanboys. It was so awesome.
Oh,
it was
wow.
like, it was so great. They're like, oh my God, it's so amazing to meet you. This is like a magical experience, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to us. And it was great. It was so fun.
By the way, your New Zealand accent is impeccable.
When I did the show, it used to be good. I used to be okay.
It's incredible. It's incredible. You have the
No,
nuance stuff.
my daughter's like, what is that, British? Like, no.
Well, I think it's perfect.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh, wait. I actually thought of another Weird Al intersection with another show I worked on.
Oh,
that I hadn't
please,
told you
please.
about,
Oh,
that you may not know
yes, we'd
about.
love to hear it.
So I worked on a show that was also super flippin' fun for Netflix called Lady Dynamite
Oh, yeah.
with Maria Bamford and Pam Brady. Pam Brady was the showrunner and head writer, and actually Mitch Hurwitz actually helped create the show as well. But anyways, it was a super fun show, which is kind of bananas. But my office for the show, it was right next to the writer's room. And I think it was the second season we were working on, and the door is always open, and so they could kind of hear us and we could hear them. And I heard the writers talk about like, oh my God, who should we get to play this part, and blah, blah, blah. And I knew the part they were talking about because I'd read the scripts. And I just walked in the office and I said, what about Weird Al? And they were like, if only we could get Weird Al. And I was like, they're like, he wouldn't be. There's no way he'd be into this. And I was like, I think he might. I go, you want me to ask? And like, once again, they're like, you can ask? I was like, yeah, give me a second. And sure enough, like Al's like, that'd be super fun. Like he was a Maria Bamford fan, and
Yeah.
as are most comedians. Patton was on a show. There was like every comedian in the world was on that show. And so he was like super stoked to do it. And they were like over the moon that they got to work with him. It was so fun.
How
So he
cool.
came in, it was like a pretty juicy part. But yeah, it was a very fun intersection. I was like, oh, I'm like, can I actually help Al? My little art department guy, I could actually like get him a job. That's so fun.
Oh, that is incredible, though.
Yeah, it was super cool.
I mean, that's kind of how I think, too. It's like anything that I see, I'm like, I wish Weird Al was on this.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you want to work with like people you love, and it's like, oh my, like those people were so great. Like the writers and producers on that show were so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, oh my God, you guys would love him. It was like, and he would love you. You know what I mean? So it was like perfect. You're like, let's get us all together.
Perfect.
Okay, cool. So you'll have to go back and watch and figure out what episode that was. I don't remember.
Well, yeah, the episode is called Little Manila. First aired November 10th, 2017.
There you go.
Season 2, episode 8, for all of our collector and obsessed fans like us who are going to now seek this episode out and watch it on Netflix.
It was my payback for f***ing up the palindrome. Bam.
Well, Dan, there's something else that you've worked on with Al that we haven't really covered all that much yet, and it is this...
No, I think that's it.
Is
I think
it?
that was
Okay.
Yeah. What did we say? Foil? Yeah. No, I think that's it.
So there's this little movie that was nominated for 8 Emmys called Weird the Al Yankovic Story, and you are the production designer.
Oh, that is right. That's right. Okay. That's right. It's that Al that's about. Oh, okay. I wasn't. Sorry.
Oh, man. With that context, just think of how much more effective you could have been.
Exactly. Damn. Thought it was a whole fiction piece. Weird. I should have really done some more research on that.
So you told us you got the call, you came in, you started working on it instead of celebrating Christmas with your family, And
Yes, exactly.
I mean, there's so much to talk about, and so I don't know. I guess just overall, what were you thinking when you got brought on? Were you already aware of the Funny or Die trailer?
I was. I had seen that, but I saw it when it came out and did not ever think that it would be made into a feature film. I don't know why. It's such a great idea. But it kind of I hadn't really put that together. So it did kind of come out of nowhere when Al called me. But it was great because I had worked with Eric. I was like, who's doing it? And he was like, it's Eric Appel. And I had actually randomly worked with him on a Fox show called Making History.
Cool.
So I knew him and liked him a lot. And so it all made sense to me. And yeah, it was just a dream. I was like, what part of the story are we taking it from? And it was like, he told me, and I'm like, oh God, it's great because I knew it all, and I could just like dig deeper and really get into it, and it was such a blast. I mean, I wish I had. Yeah, I think I told you, like, I learned about it before the holidays, so could kind of get into my own research during that time. But I wish I had like another 6 months to like go even deeper because that part is so fun.
And did you draw any inspiration from that original trailer as you started your planning and your research?
I did, but it was all like kind of expanding that world and like really getting into like where he came from. And it's funny because I having known him for so long, I knew his real history. It was like, okay, like what part are we keeping real and what part are we like kind of going off of? But like, Eric was so great. And our DP Ross was so amazing as well. We talked, early on about like the tone, and we thought it would be really funny as if Linwood was like this old steel town, like Pennsylvania or something. So, like Eric would like send me these clips. He's like, watch October Sky. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. So we're like watching these like, rough coal miners. And we're like, let's do it like that.
Awesome.
So, yeah, it was awesome.
And I guess before we really dive into the scenes and some of the specifics, where do you start with something like that? Like, how do you begin your planning? Are you sketching?
Yeah, I mean, you start with the script, and you I do like little sketches, and I'll pull like references of like, I think the thing should look like this or would be like this or whatever, and I would put like little PDFs together of like, this is what I think would be a good vibe for the factory. And like, this is what I think the vibe of the house should be. And I think we should kind of go with these tones and colors to kind of like make it seem depressed and, things like that. And, it's like, I think Madonna, the mansion where Madonna comes and visits him when he's finally, it should be like a really new money, like gaudy, like horrible mansion that we all know from the 80s. And so it's a lot of that. And like, but, we had a really great communication between all of us, between Al and Eric and Ross. So we were kind of all on the same page on all that stuff and locations as well. We kind of had to steer our location people and like, no, this is what we want, so yeah, it kind of works like that. And I'll do sketches of things. It was kind of fun because like we didn't want like any set to be like ignored, like. I remember there's like this one scene of like Madonna getting her nails done, and we're like, because of the schedule, like, well, we have to like shoot this in the garage, and I'm like, well, it's not going to just be the garage. So it's like we built this tiny weird set like in the garage of Daniel's mansion.
Wow.
And then shot that there. But like, I just love the like, focus on like even the little stuff. It's like it could be so fun, especially since it's like a different time period and things. But
maybe this is a testament to just how good you and the team were at your jobs, but it just seems like it's not even a set. It just seems like these are just like you found a place and it's just like, oh, okay, this will work because it seems perfect.
Well, the mansion, that mansion we did find, and it was so funny because like, locations can be sensitive things. And so like, this is this woman's house and we're all being like, this place is bananas that it looks like this. And so, I was my job to go around to the crew and be like, don't show how crazy this is. Just show that it's a great place and that you love it. Because we don't want this going away. This is the perfect location. And so, you kind of finesse it with the crew to be like, don't blow this. Don't blow this. We want to shoot here. And obviously, like, we added, some craziness to it. But the bones of, like, that location were so great.
Wow.
Yeah, while we're on the mansion, there's that great artwork of Weird Al in the background there. And obviously, the bust and all that stuff.
Yeah, that stuff was so much fun to do. Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, like Lori West did she did the cherub piece. It's funny because it's sad because some of that stuff gets lost. Like hell happens so fast. Like I think the portrait of him as a cherub, like I think falls during the makeout scene.
Yes.
But then there was another portrait that we did.
Yeah, like a kind of a Victorian type painting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that piece, this is a random bit of trivia that I'll probably also get in trouble for, was a piece I actually created, and the original has a picture of It's David Cross, and it was for Arrested.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but we didn't have a lot of money, and the artist was still a friend of mine. So I was like, could you put Daniel Radcliffe's face on this? Because we never ended up using it for Arrested.
Oh, wow.
And it would save so much time to just do the face. And so he, so everybody knows that's actually David Cross's body.
How cool.
But yeah, what else did we do from the mansion? There was another thing I did on the mirror that I don't think really got shot.
Well, the one thing we do see when they're smoking in bed, it says, "If money can't buy happiness, I guess I'll have to rent it." That says it on the mirror.
Yes, and that is an Al quote,
of course,
from something.
Yeah, from This Is the Life. So, did you create that, or is it just?
No, that happened to be there. We got really lucky. We put that on there.
I guess what I was trying to ask was, did you create an entire mirror with that on there, or was it just like decals or something?
No, I did like a frosted vinyl, I think, or something.
Okay.
But I'm glad you spotted that, because honestly, I thought we did it and no one noticed it. So I'm glad.
I kind of like some of the things, like even though we don't get a great shot of like the Al cherub, like I kind of like that it's something that you may not notice the first time, and then when you go back and watch it again, there's more to find. And I definitely felt like, especially when Dave and I were watching the film for the first couple times, it was in actual theater, so we couldn't pause, we couldn't go back, so it was sort of just like, oh, I can't wait to see that scene again so I can try and get a better look. So I guess some of that gets lost when you do premiere on Roku, and the majority of people aren't seeing it in a theater like that. But it's a really kind of fun experience to have those Easter eggs, even if they aren't super prominent. Yeah,
that's great. I know it's something like I wish we could have done even more, because obviously there's such the canon of Al is pretty deep.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to pull from.
Well, yeah, I mean, there are so many Easter eggs in this film that makes it a lot of fun. And I know we're jumping around a bit, but some of the Easter eggs that I love are the menus in their dorm room or apartment, whatever that is, on the refrigerator. The callbacks to UHF.
Yeah, the Spatula City magnet is one of my favorites.
And of course, the Spatula City magnet is holding up, an Edna's menu.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Well, before we head to the apartment, I wanted to ask you, back at the mansion, obviously we have the big kind of gaudy entrance in the hall and stuff. But as far as Al's actual bedroom, did you draw any inspiration from when you were working on the Hanson video from Al's actual bedroom?
No.
Okay.
No. Those are secrets that will die with me.
So there's no crossover from Al's real mansion that were brought into this film.
There are in the bedroom, his childhood bedroom, there are a lot of actual Al things in there.
Well, let's go there, because that's literally where the movie starts, is in young Al's bedroom.
Yeah. So we got really into that in the art department. We, well, I mean, there's some things you obviously know, like the Mad magazines and stuff. Obviously, like he's going to be into that and things like that. But what's weird is there's not. And I had asked Al early on for this. I was like, what photos can I have that show your house growing up and your room and stuff like that. And it was funny because he was like, well, it's not going to be about that. It's a different Al or whatever. I said, yeah, but for the kids stuff, I think it would be fun to be similar.
Right.
And so he shared photos, which are the same photos you've all seen. They're all on his website.
Yeah.
He keeps nothing from the public. But there are very, very few pictures from his bedroom. And it's funny, from his house, we did go a different way because his mom like decorated their house beautifully, and it's like this like beautiful kind of mid-century like rattan furniture, which is great, but did not match our story of our depressed Pennsylvania steel town.
Right.
But for the bedroom, I thought it would be great to have things that like kind of are the real Al had. And so the first thing I think we got, which I was so excited for, was I found a picture of his typewriter that he wrote on. And so we actually found the exact typewriter.
Oh, awesome.
Got that. And then there was also some pictures of him winning different trophies for like spelling and I think debate. And we meticulously, which is so stupid because literally no one would know, we recreated those trophies. And that meant like having to like rent and buy like 5 trophies to make one trophy that looked exactly the same.
Like a Frankenstein trophy.
Yeah, because one would have the top, but the other would have the background. And so we got crazy into it. And the other thing that I knew, I think from just conversations with him over the years, was that, he would order those crazy things like in the back of comic books. They would have those mail order stuff.
Yeah, like
comic book ads.
Like the X-ray
right,
specs and,
Yes.
yeah.
And so we went about like trying to find or recreate a lot of those things. So we remade the X-ray glasses. There was like this weird math calculator. He was so good at school. A big thing was we had like books from the period. He was great in math, great in spelling, obviously. And, great in basically all his classwork stuff. So we had like a lot of books that we recreated from that time, but, we did a lot of these mail order things from comic book ads, which he really, I think he really did have. And so it was, I think, I don't even think I can absolutely tell you that my favorite day on set on the thing was when we finished dressing that room with this great decorator, Laura Harper, who we worked together and kind of like figuring out like the vibe of this place, which was kind of like we wanted his room to be kind of like his mom made it kind of perfect, like the furniture matched and stuff. He probably got it from the Sears catalog or whatever. But it also had this whole layer of what was Al.
Right.
And so my favorite time was when it was done and I was literally just putting finishing touches on, and Al by himself just came in, and I'm like, oh God, what is he going to say? And he just was like, he was silent, and he just looked around for a long time, and I'm like, oh God, what's he going to say? And he just looks at me and goes, you have no idea how close this is.
Wow.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was just like, oh, that's awesome. Because literally we had no reference. Like we had I had this, this photo of his typewriter and like a couple things on his desk, but it was kind of just like, okay, I know this man. I know how studious he was, but I also knew he had this thing, and like, what would he have been into during this time? And so it was great that I felt like we kind of got that right, and that's really all that mattered to me. It's like, oh, he's happy, I'm happy. Like, let's go. We did have a weird thing in that set though with and this annoys all of us to this day. It was in the script that there was a Dr. Demento poster in his room,
Right.
and it's this not iconic, but it's like a poster that like people that know Dr. Demento would have known, and it was the actual poster that he had. We reshot Rain at redoing the poster, and like we're ready to shoot, and the lawyers were like, you can't shoot that. And we're like, what, why? It's Rainn Wilson. It's not Dr. Demento. P.S. Dr. Demento is fine with it. Like,
Right.
what? And they're like, no, it's an iconic poster. And we're like, is it? Like, you know what I mean? It's not Farrah Fawcett. Like, how many people had this Dr. Demento poster? A chunk, but still, like, not to the point where it would be like a huge legal thing. Like, it was different enough that the photographer couldn't be like, oh, this is my poster. And so it became a huge deal. And they're like, well, just take it down or change it. And I was like, well, but this is like, it's been in the script from the beginning. And it was like,
Yeah.
they're like, it shouldn't be a big deal. And I go, I think it will be a big deal. And I called Al. I was like, this is happening. He's like, this makes no sense. He's like, I've built my career on parody. I know it pretty well.
Right.
This is fine. And it was so annoying because I honestly don't even remember what we had to do. You would know because you probably have a better memory of the movie because you probably saw it more recently. But like, we had to cover parts of it with stuff, and it was so annoying. I don't know if you remember from the film, but it's not just the poster.
Yeah, I'm looking at a screenshot.
The poster's there, but yeah, now that you mention it, it looks like about like the left half of it is covered by some artwork that a kid might have drawn of like the universe, the sun.
It's
and,
like whatever
and
his
planets and
hand
things
was
like that.
doing or what he was
Right.
holding or whatever they deemed like too close to the original and not. I don't know. It was so annoying. It made all of us crazy. Like Al and Eric and I like lost our minds about it.
I understand the frustration, but also it looks like a kid's room. It looks like, a kid would have artwork and stuff up that might cover part of it. So it's not horrible. I think it's brilliant that you guys did that and have Rain in that Dr. Demento pose. I mean, I want one of those.
Oh, so the lawyers have gotten to you, Ethan. I see. So how much is Roku paying you?
They promised me a poster.
Yeah, exactly. I'll get you one.
I'd like to see what's underneath the universe over there,
Yeah.
or the galaxy over
Yeah.
there. I'd like to see what Rain, aka Dr. Demento's holding and pointing at.
All right.
I'm curious.
I
bet-
can send you the original.
I bet he's giving a middle finger. That's my guess.
No, it wasn't even that. Like that would almost make sense.
Right.
But yeah, the set, the way this was mocked up is I've never been to Weird Al's house. I've never been, obviously, to his childhood house inside either to see what his room looked like. Like you said, I've never seen pictures of it. But this is pretty much exactly what I imagine, based on what I know about Weird Al, and he shared from his childhood, that his room would look like too. So
Yeah.
when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, this is exactly what I would have expected. So you not only impressed Weird Al, you also impressed me as well.
Yay! That's awesome.
And me too. I mean, I don't think anyone would have any criticism. I think it's wonderful. It's just it's so perfect, and it really it sets the mood for who Al is, even from a young age, which is so great in the film.
Yeah.
Well, so we talked about the Dr. Demento poster, but of course there's also a portrait of Alfred E. Newman. Did you have issues getting the rights for that, or is that something you don't need rights for? I don't know how all that stuff works.
It's a nightmare. That's all I can tell you. But
Okay.
we did, and what's funny is we shot the Alfred E. Newman poster we have in his apartment as well. Maybe you actually don't even see it in that, but that was the first time we saw it, and we only got clearance from the lawyers like something like 15 minutes before we started shooting.
No way.
Yeah, it was like this whole thing
wow.
where it was like it was up, and we're like, "What's the deal? Can we do this?" You know, we had one set of people say it was fine, but like, "Oh, you got to wait for those other people," and they're like, "We're gonna start shooting," and it's a big deal. Obviously, if you shoot it and have to change it later, I don't know if you've heard about this music video, also known as a video called Bob, but it can be kind of a big deal when you have to change things later. Apparently, I don't know. I'm just the art guy, but it was so crazy because literally at the last minute they're like, "It's good, you're good." I'm like, "Okay, great." So yeah, that one was all signed off on. We did not think that our own poster of our own actor would be a problem.
Of Weird Al's actual friend, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Who was fine with it, you said.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's the portrait of Alfred E. Newman, and then there's also a couple Mad magazines. How did you decide which Mad magazines to throw in there?
We looked at the time period. So we looked at ones that fell under that time that he, you know, those years where he would have had them. And then just kind of chose ones that we thought were kind of more graphic and iconic.
Cool.
Because you want it to be like an immediate read when you look at it, like, oh, it's a Mad magazine, I get it. And those were, you know, it was funny. He picked up on that when he saw the room. He's like, oh, I absolutely remember this one.
Was it the actual magazine, or was it just like a recreation?
No, we had to, I think we bought some on eBay, and then we had to scan the covers and clean them up, just because of age and things.
Oh, okay.
You know, they change and stuff. So we recreated the covers and then put them over other magazines. I don't know where those ended up.
And so we talked about there's like some artwork covering up part of Rain's hand and stuff. Do you know where the artwork came from, or what the?
Yeah, that was probably things that our set decorator Laura Harper probably got from a prop house.
Okay.
You can actually get cleared like kids' drawings. It's such a weird Hollywood thing. But like, you know, for like $25, you could rent 8x10 kids drawing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, it's incredible.
It's a weird business.
So moving from Al's childhood bedroom to the amazing dinner table scene, it's hard for me to watch that scene and not notice that big bowl of mashed potatoes, which just reminds me of the scene from UHF. Was that intentional?
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful.
As was the Captain Crunch in the apartment.
Oh, we'll get there.
Okay, sorry.
Before we get too far off the house, though, is this actually shot inside of a house, or is this a set that you created?
So this is a crazy story because our location manager, Dan Milner, he pitched this place, and I was like, what is this place? And he told me about this campus that was not used anymore as a campus. It was just a film set. There's a school which is part of Cal Poly Pomona, which is ironic because Cal Poly is also where Al went to school, but a different campus. And so finally it was in Pomona, which was kind of far away for us, but we're like, yeah, let's go check it out. And he kept telling me it was like, it's the perfect place. It's great. I've shot there before. It's going to be amazing. And I was like, sure, pal. And so I go up by myself, and I'm like not 3 blocks into this place, and I was like, this place is perfect. So this campus is wild because it has a street that's like a cul-de-sac of homes that were built for like teachers and professors that worked there. And it was built in like the 40s. So it looked perfect.
Wow.
All the interiors were done. And then they also had all these other buildings and places. So like we took this place and used it as our own private movie studio. Which is, it's just the best because it saves so much time traveling, and like you can just park there, and then as you're prepping stuff, when someone's done with something else, they can come look at it and approve it.
Right. Wow.
So like on this campus, we shot his house. We shot the factory was there. It was like it was some.
Oh, cool.
It was like the power station for the school.
Wow.
There were big warehouses, so we were able to shoot like use it as a stage and like do green screen stuff there if we had to. They had this big ass bathroom that we were able to film the My Bologna recording.
Wow.
It was so great. And so that literally became our campus. It was so funny because we were all so bummed about driving there the first time, and then it was so perfect that I was like, I'm happy to drive here every morning because this is helping our movie so much. It was so much production value, and it was great. It was it's run by this place called Riverfront Locations, and it was we couldn't have done the movie without it. So I told Dan Milner every day. I was like, you did it. You were right. You were right. This was the right place to be.
So while we're still with young Al, I know you're doing more, the design work of the sets and stuff, but when it comes to something like the accordions that they're using and smashing, is that something that you worked on?
We need to stop the interview right there. But we have so much more to cover, so stay tuned for much, much more with Dan on a future episode.
But in the meantime, we'd love to once again thank Dan for sharing so much awesome information. We cannot wait for you to hear the rest of this interview series.
Ooh, that sound means we have a call on the 347 Spatula Hotline, the official hotline of Dave and Ethan's 2008 Weird Al podcast.
Well, all right. Intern Frank, let's hear that message.
Hey, David Ethan, this is your old pal, Sheepdog David Grant, a.k.a. MC Chogskin, a.k.a. Bird, and I am just, a.k.a. wolfandwool.com, and I am just calling to wish you a very happy 203rd episode, unless you play this on the 202nd or 204th episode, in which case, I'm wishing you a happy one of those. Okay, bye-bye!
Aw, thank you, David. So nice to hear from you, and thank you for the well wishes.
This episode is brought to you in part by Discover Darwin, promoting tourism in Darwin, Minnesota. Not only is historic Darwin, Minnesota beautiful, it's summer!
There is so much to do in Darwin, Minnesota during the summer.
For example, you can go to the post office.
Yeah, to buy forever stamps, you never know when they're going to raise those prices.
Yeah, or, head over to Darwin Monument to pick out a shiny new gravestone.
I mean, you can't put off buying that forever.
And maybe you could visit Narducci Hair Design.
Narducci? What hair exactly are they designing?
Well, that's one reason to go. You can find out.
I think I'd rather spend all day in my underwear watching Ernest Goes to Camp.
So visit Darwin, Minnesota on your next sanctioned expedition. Discover Darwin more than just the twine ball. And after you visit Darwin, Minnesota, be sure to attempt to visit discoverdarwin.biz.
Dave and Ethan's 2008 Weird Al podcast is brought to you absolutely free thanks to our incredible sponsors, Burrito Burrito, Wizard Burger, Jackson Scoggins, and Discover Darwin.
Our podcast is also supported by everyone else in our Patreon family, with special thanks to our amazing close personal friend level Patreon supporters. UH Jeff, Matt, Kenneth, Gus and Alicia, Allison, Adriana, Ajax, Jake, Zeb, Zach, Dana B, Blair, Kev, Javier, Ron, and Scott. Also thanks to Tom Dog and everyone else in our pretty stinking majestic Patreon family.
If you enjoy our family-friendly Weird Al podcast, please consider supporting us over at patreon.com/2000inch. There are awesome benefits like getting your name on the podcast, your very own private RSS feed, which gives you early access to each and every one of our bonus episodes, and the self-satisfaction of doing something very important with your otherwise pitiful, meaningless existence.
And now would be a good time to join if you have not already, because you'll be the very first to hear each and every one of our amazing, brand new, ridiculously self-indulgent bonus episodes the instant they drop. And don't forget to check out our official merchandise over at shop.2000inch.com. All proceeds from those purchases go directly towards supporting our fine podcast.
We absolutely love hearing from our listeners and other Weird Al fans, so be sure to check out our Facebook community over at group.2000inch.com and make sure you visit our Discord server for even more riveting Weird Al and Red Rump the Goody related conversations. You can find both of them linked on our website, as well as information about past episodes and guests over at 2000inch.com or weirdalpodcast.com.
And while you're there, click on ridiculously self-indulgent bonus episodes to follow along with our adventures on tour, or Black and White and Weird All Over bonus episodes for our special series where author John Bermuda Schwartz walks us through his first book, page by page and picture by picture.
Keep up on new episodes, podcast news, and events by following at 2000inch on Facebook, X, and Instagram. And be sure to subscribe everywhere you listen to podcasts so you do not miss a single episode. Not only does subscribing help the podcast, it helps soothe our ever-growing egos.
Plus, we also love it when we receive voicemail via our official patent-pending 27-hour-a-day podcast hotline, 347-SPATULA, as seen in the Illustrated Owl. That number is 347-772-8852. Give it a call, and you might hear yourself on a future episode.
Thank you to our guest Dan Butts for joining us once again this episode.
Also, thank you to Eric Appel, Sam Caswell, Blair Freeman, Mike Minnick, Jason McDonald, Ron Jr., David Grant, Javier Valdez, and Dave's Bartender. Thank you to the Grammy Award-winning Jim Kimo for our incredible podcast theme song, and thank you to the Emmy-nominated Weird Al Yankovic, as this podcast probably would not exist without him. And a big thanks to all of you, our loyal listeners, subscribers, Patreon supporters, and sponsors, and everyone else who makes our podcast possible.
Thank you, as always, for choosing Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast. And until next time, remember to gill and chill, keep listening to Weird Al, and stay cheesy.
Hey, Dave, this new AI voice generator that our intern Frank picked up is really working wonders. It's kind of like you're sitting right here in the studio with me and not really, 5,000 miles away overseas on some frivolous vacation.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed. No glitches so far.
I still miss you, though, and I hope the real Dave comes back for the next episode.
I like ice cream.
Okay, that was weird.
Have you seen my chicken?
Oh no, I think this thing's glitching out.
How dare you tempt me with your grape-flavored water? Oh no, my cookie drowned! Follow that car!
That was Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 204-inch.
Did you know Anne Frank was a dolphin?
Oh, so the lawyers have gotten to you, Ethan.